This film tells the story of a woman whose life was quite standard until the arrival of her energetic stepson, which makes everything more interesting. Her relationship with her stepson becomes inappropriate and crosses boundaries. When her husband is away on a business trip, their relationship changes and they begin to bond too closely. However, she tries her best to help her stepson adjust to the new family. This woman has had to keep some things secret from his father for a while, but as is often the case, keeping secrets usually ends in an explosion when they are finally revealed. What happens next? Watch until the end of the movie recap so that you can find the mystery of this movie. The movie begins with Anne, a lawyer, interacting with a client. After the hearing, she defends the girl in court and takes her out of the media spotlight. After finishing work, Anne goes home to work out and is greeted by her daughters and her husband Pierre. Pierre is planning a trip to Geneva, their son Theo to go into the police because of a conflict with a teacher, and Anne takes her daughters to horse riding lessons. Anne then visits the salon where her sister Mina works. She discusses Theo's situation with Mina. Mina's husband brings their son Luca to work, and he and Mina have a complicated relationship. Mina quarrels with him on the salon's doorstep. Anne is pleased to see her nephew and asks him about the toy his father gave him. Anne offers to take Luca with her, but Mina refuses. Returning home, Anne puts away Theo's things in the living room and takes them to his room. Theo comes out of the shower, and she asks him not to throw things around the house. She shows him a wardrobe where he can put all his stuff and notes that he has grown up fast. During lunch, the daughters inquire about their father's boyfriend's anticipated arrival. Meanwhile, Theo joins them and asks someone to make coffee for him. In a show of affection, the sisters give their brother a thoughtful present. The following day, Anne arrives home early, resolves work issues over the phone, and proceeds to the house. Upon reaching the doorstep, she discovers a keychain. Inside, Theo and his sisters joyfully play in the nursery and are overjoyed to see their mom. Later in the evening, Pierre sits down for dinner and begins to complain to his wife about the frustrations he faces at work. Anne listens attentively and suggests that he should take some time to rest. After they share a kiss, Pierre later confides in his wife about a conversation he had with his son. He expresses his upset feelings over the fact that the father has adopted the girls but doesn't spend much time with his son. To relieve the tension, Pierre decides to go to bed with his wife. During their conversation, Anne shares a nostalgic story about how she was in love with an older man when she was a little girl, whom she affectionately referred to as the old man, a 33-year-old man. This anecdote amuses Pierre, who becomes curious and wants to know what his wife thinks about the man's body now that he is older. In the morning, Theo is caught smoking in his bedroom, which prompts his father to reprimand him for his behavior. Afterwards, his father stops by the salon to pick up his sister. When the women arrive at Anne's house, they are shocked to find that everything is scattered and a robbery has occurred. Anne's bag is nowhere to be found. When Theo returns home, Anne instructs him to check his room. At work, Anne talks to clients Sarah and her father. The man, given custody of his daughter, knocks over a cup of drink on Anne's desk in a burst of emotion, soiling her skirt. Sarah watches anxiously. At home, Anne throws laundry into the washing machine and decides to wash Theo's trousers too. From the trousers pocket, she takes out the keychain she had found on the street. She goes to Theo to discuss the find, suspecting that Theo had deliberately staged the robbery. Theo reacts aggressively. She suggests keeping the robbery story from Pierre if Theo tries to adapt to their family. Later, Anne tries to get things for the beach. Theo comes to her rescue and invites her to the river. At the river, the girls and Anne have a picnic. Theo delights in a burger, and the heroine says that she will no longer buy vegetarian steaks. Theo eats the meat with enthusiasm. After enjoying a meal, Theo and the twins decide to go swimming in the river. While there, he suggests that a woman join them for the fun and humorously dunks her head under the water as a joke. She playfully responds in the same manner, and they all return home in high spirits. On the way back, the girls fall asleep, and once home, Theo assists the woman in carrying the girls to their room. The following day, Anne and Theo find themselves having a pleasant chat on the veranda. At the same time, a young boy energetically jumps on the trampoline nearby. Simultaneously, Pierre embraces his daughter warmly, sharing with her his upcoming plans for a business trip. As the day transitions to evening, Fu is found engrossed in a soap opera. Unexpectedly, his stepmother enters his room, and Fu, seizing the moment, invites her to watch the series together. As the woman settles next to him, Theo impulsively kisses her, mimicking the actions of the characters on the screen. Following this intimate moment, Anne requests that Fu should try to forget about the incident that just occurred. When Pierre returns from his business trip, he shares anecdotes about his work. Meanwhile, the heroine is grappling with feelings of guilt over her recent actions. Subsequently, we observe Theo dedicating significant time to his sisters, capturing their responses to various questions on a dictaphone. Eager to include Anne in this personal project, Theo invites her to be interviewed, during which she shares intimate personal experiences. Clearly smitten, Theo expresses his desire to deepen his relationship with Anne, but she cautions him that they must maintain a certain distance. Ignoring her advice, Theo kisses Anne, an act that, despite her reservations, visibly excites her. In the bedroom, Theo helps the blonde woman to relax, as he desires the woman to recognize and appreciate his progress in the art of lovemaking. Subsequently, a lawyer arrives to visit a client. Noticing the girl's strange behavior, she promptly contacts the Child Protection Service and requests that a specialist evaluate the girl's family situation. In the following scene, a birthday party is joyously celebrated for the twins, where the heroine's daughters, along with other children, excitedly open their presents. During the festivities, one of the girls asks her mother to fill her water gun with water. Meanwhile, the woman ventures into the barn, where she is unexpectedly accosted by Theo, who expresses his intention to relieve Anne of her tension. Shockingly, Mina witnesses the encounter between the heroes, and deeply outraged by her sister's actions, Mina and her son decide to leave and return home, though the party continues. Later, Pierre captures a touching moment in a video as his daughters blow out the candles on their birthday cake. The subsequent day, Anne eagerly waits for Theo in the garden, wanting to have a serious discussion with the boy. However, Theo takes offense at the woman for her refusal. She pleads with him to keep their intimate relationship a secret before leaving the distressed young man. They exchange a kiss, after which Theo boldly promises that the woman will find herself jealous of his future girlfriends. Soon after, he joins Pierre for breakfast. After coming in from a morning jog, the woman overhears Theo and Pierre discussing plans to spend time together at the chalet. Later that evening, the daughter inquires about what their father and brother will do during the holiday. Anne explains their typical activities at the chalet and subsequently reads a bedtime story to the girls. Once the little girls drift into sleep, Anne decides to call her husband, leaving him a voice message. Later, the woman sneaks into Theo's room, where she discovers a tape recorder and several notes. Determined to protect her privacy, the heroine resolves to hide all the evidence that could prove there was a close relationship between her and the young man. The following day, feeling anxious over her husband's lack of response, she takes the girls to the equestrian club, hoping to distract herself from her worries. On the road, the heroine's phone suddenly rings. As the blonde searches frantically for it in her purse without slowing down, Anne's car veers off and drives into a ditch. Subsequently, they return home in a taxi and discover that Pierre has already come home. The girls discuss their mother wrecking the car while the family sits down to dinner. During the meal, Pierre decides to tell the children a story about a mouse that chewed through a pipe, concluding the tale with the moral that it is impossible to repair everything. As he says this, he looks at his wife, infusing the story with a hidden meaning. After putting the children to bed, the couple sits down for a serious talk. Pierre reveals to his wife the confession he received from Theo, asserting that Theo and Anne had been spending time alone together quite actively. The blonde refutes Theo's allegations. However, her husband finds it hard to believe her due to the savory details Theo has provided. Frustrated and cornered, the heroine escapes from the conversation and heads to the bedroom to gather her things. She is infuriated by the fact that Pierre believes Theo over her and reveals the robbery that Theo had orchestrated to her husband. Realizing his mistake, Pierre quickly acknowledges his rash judgment, embraces his wife, and breaks down crying on her shoulder. In the morning, as the couple sits in the living room, they decide it's time to confront Theo. Pierre expresses his desire for his son to stop his deceitful behavior and slander against his stepmother, Anne. She sternly reminds the young man that he ought to behave more sensibly, while the father pressures him to apologize. This demand infuriates Theo. Following the heated exchange, Pierre decides to take his son to boarding school, a decision that deeply upsets the girls. In the next scene, Theo visits a woman at her workplace, where he aggressively demands that she admit to an affair between them. Anne, maintaining her composure, explains her position to him. She insists that he must tell her father that he fabricated the story about their supposed intimacy. Unyielding, Theo vows to tarnish the woman's reputation on Christmas Day. Meanwhile, Sarah arrives at Anne's house, presents the lawyer with flowers, and expresses her deep gratitude for the heroine's assistance. During the festive season, Mina, Pierre, and the children celebrate the holiday. The atmosphere lightens when the sisters reconcile. Anne is relieved that Mina has forgiven her sister for her involvement with Theo. Following the hearty dinner, the joy of the evening continues as everyone gathers to open presents. Pierre surprises the heroine with an expensive bracelet, which draws admiring glances from the women. Subsequently, Anne and Theo visit the lawyer together. In a dramatic turn of events, Theo, driven by vengeance against his stepmother, declares his intention to bring her to justice for their alleged affair. In response, the blonde lawyer dismissively remarks that her colleague's client is dishonest. Determined to handle the situation discreetly, the lawyers decide against publicizing the case and request that the documents and the amount of compensation be sent to them directly. Theo is not happy with the way his idea ended up. Late at night, he knocks on Anne's house. He is drunk and wants to see the woman. They start kissing. The couple does it on the doorstep of the heroine's house. The blonde goes back to bed with her husband. Pierre asks what happened. Anne talks about his son coming around, claiming that she called the guy a taxi because he was drunk. However, the husband points out that the woman didn't freeze with this. The film ends here. Thank you for watching till the end.